Welcome back to my channel. My name is Masakho Matsuka and you guys are watching Autumn Ace, which is Random with Chase and I, Moi, and Chase the Rebel. On this channel, we learn, create, and sew. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to use your balance points as well as your balance lines. Let's get into the video. Hi, I'm Shades, and just like this title sequence that you're watching over here, nothing has order because it's random. So guys, today we're going to be talking about balance points. So balance points are helpful when there is a two-way direction move. So what is that, you asked? I'm going to show you right now. So the first, we need a block. We are using our front skirt block today, and we're going to trace it out as it is. Make sure that you mark all the necessary points, the lines, in order to do this correctly. Mark in your dot lines, your dot points, and every other line, your hip lines. And now what I'm going to do is label the different lines with the correct names. So the first one is our center front line. Next is our hip line. And at the bottom, we call that our hemline. Now draw your grain line in, and grain line is a new word to add into your pattern terminology. A grain line is helpful for placing your patterns onto fabric in the correct direction. We will speak about that more, but your grain line is usually always, all the time, parallel to your center front line. Next, we're going to mark all the points that we're going to use and are necessary for adjusting our block, either to make it smaller or bigger. Those are our balance points. And here are some measurements that helped us grade down our pattern in the previous video, and I'm just going to write them down on this page so that we have them right in front of us. So now I'm going to show you how to use balance lines to move a point. Okay, so that's how grading works. We move points in order to get the new shape of the block. So I'm going to show you how to move a balance point. So moving a balance point while using a balance line, you need to have a two-way direction move. And basically, just like the 3 parts that I've circled there, we have move 3 millimeters left and then 3 millimeters up. So those are 2 directions that we're moving at, right? And so there's a way that we need to do that. And this is where our grid ruler comes in. So now I'm going to be explaining everything about the two-way direction moves. This is our curve ruler, and it's used for seam allowances as well as curves on our necklines and armholes and whatever. But this part here at the top is used for grading, as it's mentioned on the ruler that this you can use as a grading rule. And this is the grid part. This is the part I call the grid because of all these lines are perpendicular to one another, meaning all the angles here are 90 degrees and it is accurate. It's helpful it's helpful to use for accuracy. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to use this grid ruler. And how to use this grid ruler, we're going to start by drawing a line. And I'd like to show you how to draw a perpendicular line using a grid ruler. So what you need to do is make sure that one of these lines is placed directly on top of the line that you just drew. It needs to be aligned. As you can see, it's like flowing and that's how it is. Don't move it around, because once you move it, the angle has changed. And as you can see, I'm using line number 22 to help me make a perpendicular line, and now I've drawn a skew line to show you how it was not straight. And you use that same line to align it to the line that you've drawn, and draw a line going across. And this is how you know that your line is now perpendicular. So that angle over there is now 90 degrees. And this is how we're going to use our grid ruler when we move our points. So here's an example on how to use a point. I'm going to be marking a point. And now I have to move it 3 millimeters up, to the right, and then 6 millimeters up. And of course I wrote down the measurements, but you guys can't see them, but I hope you guys can hear me clearly. And so we're going to use our grid ruler. I'm going to be using my pencil, and this is how I'm going to move my point on the block, is by drawing a line with a pencil. So I draw the line that goes across. This is my x-axis line, if you remember in math class. And we align our ruler onto that point, that line that you just drew. And then draw a line that goes across. Now we have our perpendicular area, we have our origin. Our point has now become our origin. And now we're going to move 3 millimeters to the right. So we mark that point, 3 millimeters to the right. And on that very point, we're going to align our grid ruler with the x-axis, which is the horizontal line, on that new point, and draw a line that goes vertically. And this is where now we're going to measure our second measurement, which was the 6 millimeters. So now that you've moved 2 points, you've moved 2 directions, we went right, then we went up. This is our new point. And this is how we move our balance points on our pattern blocks. So I'm going to show you how to do it. As you can see, there it is. I'm going to show you how to do it on the block itself. So we have a two-way move there, which is 3 millimeters to the right and 10 millimeters up. And I'm going to show you guys. So on our pattern, we have our hip line, our hem line, our grade line, and our center front. Remember that our center front is parallel to our grain line. And then our hem line and hip line are perpendicular to the center front. And this is basically what I'm writing there on my notes as notes, just to remember. And because our grain line is parallel to the center front, therefore our hem line and hip line are perpendicular to the grain line. And now all of these lines are the lines that we're going to use as our guidelines or our balance lines. Well, not balance lines, but our guidelines to help us with the balance lines, which the balance lines help us move the point, but these lines are guidelines to help us create our balance lines. So now moving to that point on our side waist at the top there, which had the measurements to move 3 millimeters to the right and then 10 millimeters up. I'll give you guys a close-up to see how we're going to move it. So first, what you're going to do is, as you can see, my hip line was already extended, and that is the line that I'm using to align my grid in order to draw a line that is going horizontally on that point. And you could extend this line longer if you want to, but 3 millimeters is not that much, so you don't need that much space. But of course, do what you are comfortable with. And now I'm going to mark my 3 millimeter. And on that very point, because we're going to move up 10 millimeters, I am going to align my line, one of my grid ruler lines, with that very new line that I just drew there, and I'm going to draw my line going vertically, and that is where I'm going to mark my 10 millimeters. And make sure that it's straight. Do not move it around, because when you do move it around, you can actually see it. So that's the nice thing, is that the grid ruler is clear enough for you to be able to see when you are not precise with your grid and the placement of it. So yeah. And then now we're marking that 10 millimeter move. And that is our new point. And that is how we use our balance lines. So our balance lines are used when we have a two-way move, a two-way measurement move, or two-direction move. So if there's two directions that the point must move, this is when our balance lines come into play. So yeah, guys, this is how it is. This is all the information. And you could do that to the rest of your patterns, the rest of your blocks, and that's how it is. Bye guys, thank you for watching.